Part 1. The Crisis of Modern Business versus God's Timeless Blueprints. In our modern world, the landscape of business and wealth creation often appears overwhelmingly complex, a dizzying maze of ever-evolving strategies, fleeting trends, and jargon-laden advice. We are bombarded daily with new methodologies, growth hacking, agile frameworks, disruptive innovation, and a constant drumbeat of must-haves for success. Conferences promise secret formulas, social media influencers pitch their latest programs, and the relentless pace of technological change demands perpetual adaptation. It's easy to feel adrift, to wonder if true, enduring principles still exist amidst the cacophony of short-term fixes and shifting paradigms. Many sincere individuals seeking to build something meaningful and prosperous find themselves lost in this labyrinth, feeling immense pressure to keep up, to innovate faster, to scale bigger. This incessant pursuit of the next big thing often leaves people exhausted, financially strained, and perpetually uncertain. Yet, what if the most powerful, most enduring, and most profoundly effective business models, the foundational principles for building sustainable wealth and influence, were not found in the latest best-selling business book, nor hidden in the algorithms of Silicon Valley? What if, instead, they were blueprints hiding in plain sight, etched into the very pages of ancient scripture, as relevant today as they were millennia ago? This is the radical proposition at the heart of our discussion, that the Bible, far from being silent on matters of enterprise and prosperity, contains incredibly simple yet extraordinarily powerful timeless blueprints for business and wealth creation. We often relegate biblical narratives to purely spiritual or moral lessons, overlooking the profound practical wisdom embedded within them. But when we look closely through a lens of economic understanding, we discover that many of the most celebrated figures in Scripture were, in essence, pioneering entrepreneurs, astute managers, and shrewd strategists. Their stories are not merely tales of faith. They are rich tapestries woven with principles of resource management, risk assessment, human capital development, trade, and even supply chain logistics. These individuals operated vast enterprises, navigated complex markets, managed significant assets, and built substantial wealth, often starting from humble beginnings or amidst challenging circumstances. Consider, for example, the patriarch Abraham. He was not just a man of faith. He was a wealthy chieftain, managing extensive flocks, numerous servants, and strategic land acquisitions, all while operating across diverse geopolitical landscapes. His nephew Lot, similarly, amassed significant wealth through livestock and land. Or think of Isaac, who diligently sowed in a land experiencing famine, and in the book of Genesis, chapter 26, verse 12, we read that he, quote, reaped in the same year 100-fold. The Lord blessed him. This was not just a miracle, but a testament to diligent agricultural practice guided by faith. Jacob, despite cunning dealings, ultimately built a massive household and immense fortune through careful animal husbandry. Joseph rose from slavery to become the chief executive officer of ancient Egypt, implementing a sophisticated economic policy that saved an entire civilization from famine, involving strategic planning, resource allocation, and international trade. King Solomon, of course, leveraged his God-given wisdom to forge international trade routes, develop vast industries, and oversee monumental building projects, making ancient Israel a global economic powerhouse. Even in the New Testament, figures like Lydia, a seller of purple goods, exemplified successful entrepreneurship, using her wealth and influence to support the nascent Christian movement, as recorded in the book of Acts, chapter 16. These were not isolated individuals who simply got lucky. They were practitioners of divine principles, operating with an understanding of stewardship, diligence, integrity, and faith that transcend any particular era or economic system. Their successes were not divorced from their spiritual lives. They were often direct outcomes of it. They faced challenges, made decisions, managed people, and allocated resources in ways that reflect timeless entrepreneurial acumen. These biblical figures provided us with prototypes, with repeatable frameworks, with fundamental insights into how prosperity is generated and sustained under God's blessing. These are not esoteric mysteries, but practical wisdom accessible to anyone willing to observe, learn, and apply. These are the blueprints hiding in plain sight, waiting for us to uncover them, dust them off, and integrate them into our modern understanding of business and wealth. Our aim in this series is to illuminate these timeless models, demonstrating their enduring relevance and challenging you to embrace a radically different, yet profoundly biblical, approach to your financial endeavors.
Part 2, Shepherding and Livestock, Building Wealth like Abraham. In our quest to uncover God's timeless blueprints for wealth creation, we turn first to one of the most foundational and enduring models of ancient economies, shepherding and livestock management. This was not merely a way of life, it was the bedrock of wealth for many of the great patriarchs, embodying principles that resonate deeply even in our complex modern world. Consider Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Their wealth was primarily measured in their flocks and herds. The book of Genesis, chapter 13, verse 2, explicitly states of Abraham, "Now Abram was very rich in livestock, in silver, and in gold." This wealth was not confined to precious metals. It was inextricably linked to his extensive animal assets. These patriarchs understood that livestock represented more than just food. It was liquid capital, a renewable resource, and a source of products essential for life. The genius of the shepherding model lies in its inherent capacity for scalability and multiplication. A single ewe can produce lambs, which in turn produce more ewes and rams, leading to exponential growth over time. This natural biological multiplication, combined with diligent care, formed the basis of immense wealth. It required patience, foresight, and consistent effort, but the returns were substantial and sustainable. Let us dissect the mindset inherent in shepherding that directly translates into powerful business principles. First, protection. A good shepherd protects his flock from predators, disease, and harsh elements. This translates into safeguarding assets, managing risks, ensuring quality control, and protecting intellectual property in modern business. It's about building a robust and resilient operation. Second, multiplication. The core objective is growth. The shepherd seeks to increase the number of his animals, improving their health and productivity. In business, this means strategic growth, expanding market share, innovating products, and optimizing processes to increase output and profitability. Third, long-term vision. Shepherding is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It requires planning for breeding cycles, grazing rotations, and market conditions seasons in advance. It's about sustainable practices that ensure prosperity not just for the current year, but for future generations. This fosters a mindset of patience and delayed gratification, investing in assets that appreciate and produce over time, rather than chasing fleeting profits. Now, how does this ancient model find modern relevance? While most of us may not be tending physical flocks in literal pastures, the underlying principles are profoundly applicable. The direct descendants of this model are obviously the meat, dairy, and wool industries. These sectors remain enormous global markets, providing essential goods and generating significant wealth. Investing in these industries, whether through direct ownership, stock market investments in agricultural companies, or even supporting local sustainable farms, is a direct application of this blueprint. Beyond direct agriculture, consider how the flock can be reinterpreted. Your customer base can be seen as your flock. Protecting them means delivering excellent service, ensuring satisfaction, and building loyalty. Multiplying them means effective marketing, expanding reach, and acquiring new clients. Your investments can be managed with a shepherding mentality. You protect your capital, seek opportunities for multiplication through compound interest and strategic asset allocation, and maintain a long-term vision for financial growth. Even the concept of intellectual property or digital assets can fit this model.
You create an asset, protect it, copyrights, patents, multiply its reach, licensing, distribution, and envision its long-term value creation. Modern applications can also manifest in structures like agricultural co-ops, where farmers pool resources for greater collective buying power and market access. Or consider agricultural real estate investment trusts, which allow individuals to invest in income-generating farmland without directly managing the land or livestock. These provide avenues to participate in the wealth-generating capacity of agricultural assets, embracing the shepherding principle on a larger, more structured scale. The Shepherding and Livestock Blueprint teaches us that sustainable wealth often comes from nurturing renewable resources, understanding cycles of growth, and patiently applying principles of protection and multiplication. It reminds us that fundamental economic activity, rooted in providing for basic human needs, has always and continues to be a powerful engine for enduring prosperity, echoing the diligent stewardship practiced by Abraham and his descendants. It encourages us to think not just of what we can consume, but what we can cultivate and grow.
Part 3. Farming and Vineyards, Sustainable Business from the Promised Land. Moving beyond the nomadic wealth of the patriarchs, we encounter another cornerstone of biblical prosperity, farming and vineyards. This blueprint represents a divine strategy for establishing consistent, sustainable wealth, deeply ingrained in the very fabric of the Promised Land and central to the economic life of ancient Israel. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 8, is rich with promises of a land of wheat and barley, of vines and fig trees and pomegranates, a land of olive trees and honey, signaling that God intended for his people to thrive through agricultural abundance. Farming and vineyards played a multifaceted role in the economy and society, providing far more than mere subsistence. First, they supplied essentials, food, drink, and basic materials for clothing and shelter. This fulfilled fundamental human needs, creating a stable and essential market. Businesses that address core human needs, food, water, housing, energy, remain inherently stable and valuable today. Second, they fueled trade. Surplus produce, fine wines, and olive oil were valuable commodities for export, establishing economic ties with neighboring nations and bringing external wealth into the land. This highlights the importance of developing products with export potential and engaging in commerce beyond local markets. Third, they built legacy. Land ownership and productive farms were passed down through generations, forming the basis of enduring family wealth and community stability. This underscores the long-term vision inherent in biblical wealth creation, emphasizing assets that can be bequeathed and continue to generate value for descendants. The ancient agricultural model required and cultivated specific virtues that are equally critical for modern business success. Patience. From sowing to harvest, from planting a vine to its first fruitful yield, farming demands patience. There are cycles of waiting, periods of diligent labor, and an understanding that rewards often come after extended periods of investment and care. This counters the modern instant gratification impulse, teaching us the value of strategic, long-term planning. Diversification. The Promised Land offered a variety of crops and trees: wheat, barley, vines, figs, pomegranates, olives. This natural diversification provided resilience against crop failure or market fluctuations in any single commodity. The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 11, verse 6, advises, "In the morning sow your seed, and at evening withhold not your hand, for you do not know which will prosper, this or that, or whether both alike will be good." This ancient wisdom speaks directly to modern portfolio diversification and avoiding over-reliance on a single income stream or product. Diligence and hard work. "Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might," says Ecclesiastes chapter 9, verse 10. Farming is not for the faint of heart. It requires consistent labor, careful tending, and an understanding of the natural world. This translates into the consistent effort and dedication needed to build any successful enterprise. So, how do we connect this ancient wisdom to modern agriculture and business? The direct application is, of course, investment in modern agriculture, from large-scale commercial farms to specialized vineyards. But the principles extend further. Sustainable agriculture.
The biblical emphasis on caring for the land, Leviticus chapter 25 speaks of fallow years, resonates with modern movements in sustainable and organic farming. Investing or developing businesses that prioritize ecological health and long-term soil productivity is a direct modern application of this blueprint. Local and organic produce. There's a growing demand for locally sourced, high-quality, and organic foods. Entrepreneurs who tap into this market, perhaps through community-supported agriculture, farmers markets, or specialized organic farms, are applying ancient principles to contemporary needs. Vertical farming and controlled environment agriculture. These innovative approaches use technology to grow crops in urban environments, often with less land and water. While technologically advanced, the core purpose remains the same: providing essential food, maximizing yield, and creating sustainable supply chains, much like the diligent farmer in the Promised Land. Agritech. Investing in technologies that improve crop yields, enhance resource efficiency, or streamline agricultural processes, from advanced irrigation systems to genetic engineering for drought resistance, is another way to engage with this timeless blueprint. The Farming and Vineyards blueprint teaches us the value of patience, diligence, diversification, and the power of providing essential goods. It underscores that true, lasting wealth is often grown steadily, nurtured carefully, and built upon the foundational needs of humanity, mirroring the wisdom found in God's promises for the Promised Land. It calls us to be thoughtful cultivators, both of the earth's resources and our own entrepreneurial endeavors.
Part 4. Carpentry and Craftsmanship. Building Legacies of Excellence. Beyond the fields and flocks, another powerful and enduring biblical blueprint for wealth creation lies in the realm of carpentry and craftsmanship. This model highlights the intrinsic value of skilled labor, the creation of tangible goods, and the profound impact of excellence in execution. Far from being relegated to a secondary status, these trades were not only honorable and profitable, but absolutely essential for building and sustaining societies, and even for fulfilling divine mandates. Consider the towering figures associated with this blueprint. Noah, instructed by God, meticulously built an ark of gopher wood, a monumental undertaking of carpentry and engineering that saved humanity and animal life. This was not a simple boat. It was a complex, multi-decked vessel requiring immense skill and precision, as detailed in the book of Genesis, chapter 6. King Solomon, famed for his wisdom and wealth, leveraged the finest craftsmen and builders to construct the magnificent temple in Jerusalem and his own opulent palace. These were feats of unparalleled architectural and artisanal excellence, drawing on the skills of countless specialized laborers and material suppliers, as recounted in the books of 1 Kings and 2 Chronicles. And, of course, Jesus himself. Before embarking on his public ministry, he was known as a carpenter, or tekton in the original Greek, a skilled craftsman who worked with wood, stone, and metal. The Gospel of Matthew, chapter 13, verse 55, asks, "Is not this the carpenter's son?" This humble yet essential profession prepared him for his greater calling, instilling diligence, precision, and an understanding of foundational building. These examples underscore that skilled trades are not merely jobs, they are callings, opportunities to create lasting value and tangible legacies. They represent a direct application of human ingenuity to transform raw materials into useful, beautiful, and enduring creations. In today's world, the value of skilled trades remains immensely high, often paradoxically underestimated in an economy that sometimes overvalues purely digital or service-based work. From custom furniture makers to master electricians, from precision mechanics to expert plumbers, these professions are critical. They build our infrastructure, maintain our homes, and craft bespoke items that bring beauty and functionality to our lives. Businesses in general contracting, specialized construction, artisan food production, or high-quality manufacturing are direct modern descendants of this blueprint. They thrive on expertise, reputation, and the tangible quality of their output. What is particularly compelling about this blueprint is its spiritual dimension. The book of Exodus, chapter 31, verse 3, speaks of Bezalel, whom God filled with the Spirit of God, in wisdom, in understanding, in knowledge, and in all kinds of craftsmanship, for the specific purpose of building the tabernacle.
This teaches us that true craftsmanship can be spirit-inspired, an act of worship reflecting God's own creative nature. It elevates the work from mere labor to a sacred calling, infusing it with purpose and excellence. This biblical model challenges us to embrace a mindset that prioritizes quality over shortcuts. In a world often driven by cheap, mass-produced goods, there is a renewed appreciation for things made with care, precision, and enduring quality. Modern artisans are flourishing, creating unique products, from handcrafted leather goods to artisanal breads, bespoke clothing to custom-built homes. These entrepreneurs often command premium prices because their work reflects skill, passion, and an unwavering commitment to excellence, principles directly drawn from this ancient blueprint. The construction industry, from residential builders to commercial developers, also directly embody this model. Success is built on expertise, reliability, and the ability to deliver high-quality structures that stand the test of time. Even in areas like software development or complex engineering, the principles of craftsmanship, attention to detail, robust design, elegant execution, and problem-solving are paramount. A well-crafted software architecture, like a well-built house, is a testament to skill and foresight. The carpentry and craftsmanship blueprint teaches us the enduring value of skill, diligence, quality, and the profound satisfaction of creating something tangible and excellent. It reminds us that our hands, guided by wisdom and even by the Holy Spirit, can be instruments for building lasting legacies, serving our communities, and generating honorable wealth that reflects God's own creative genius. It is a powerful antidote to a culture that often undervalues the very things that physically build and sustain our world.
Part 5. Fishing Trade, from Galilean nets to global markets. Our exploration of God's timeless blueprints for wealth now leads us to the fishing trade, a vibrant and essential industry in biblical times, particularly around the Sea of Galilee. Far from being a mere hobby or a quaint pastime, fishing was a serious, demanding, and often highly profitable business, employing numerous individuals and sustaining entire communities. It provided not only sustenance, but also a significant source of income and trade for those who mastered its intricacies. Consider the first disciples called by Jesus: Peter, Andrew, James, and John. They were not amateur fishermen. They were seasoned professionals, operating what was likely a family business or partnership. The Gospel of Luke, chapter 5, provides a vivid account of their expertise and their struggles, depicting them as hard-working men accustomed to long nights, strenuous labor, and the unpredictable nature of their trade. When Jesus calls them, he interrupts a very real, very established commercial enterprise. Their readiness to leave their nets and follow him speaks volumes about the sacrifice involved, underscoring the substantial nature of their previous livelihood. The ancient practices of the fishing trade reveal profound business principles that remain acutely relevant today. First, discipline and hard work. Fishing required immense physical exertion, long hours, and consistent effort. Nets had to be cast, hauled, cleaned, and mended, boats maintained, markets navigated. This instilled a discipline and work ethic crucial for any successful venture. Second, risk assessment and management. The sea is unpredictable. Storms can arise, fish populations can shift, and efforts can sometimes yield nothing, as Peter lamented in Luke chapter 5, saying, "Master, we toiled all night and took nothing." Yet, despite the risks, they persisted. This mirrors the need for entrepreneurs to understand market volatility, adapt to changing conditions, and persevere through periods of low returns. Third, provision and scarcity. Fish was a primary source of protein and an important commodity for trade. Understanding supply and demand, knowing where and when to fish, and preserving the catch were critical for maximizing profit and ensuring consistent provision. Today, the fishing trade has evolved into a multi-billion-dollar global industry, encompassing commercial fishing, seafood processing, distribution, and increasingly aquaculture, fish farming. The fundamental principles, harvesting a resource, managing supply chains, and meeting consumer demand for protein, remain unchanged. Investment opportunities abound in sustainable fishing practices, innovative processing technologies, and the burgeoning aquaculture sector, which offers controlled environments to mitigate some of the risks associated with wild catches. Crucially,
Jesus himself often used fishing metaphors, transforming the practical realities of their trade into profound spiritual lessons. His call to Peter and Andrew in the Gospel of Matthew chapter 4 verse 19, "Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men," not only elevated their former profession, but also highlighted key elements of their skill set that would be invaluable in building his kingdom. Building networks. Just as fishermen often worked in teams, using multiple boats and nets, successful fishers of men understood the power of collaboration and building spiritual networks. In business, this translates to strategic partnerships, team building, and leveraging collective strengths. Patience and consistency. Fishing requires a deep understanding of natural cycles and the patience to wait for the opportune moment, coupled with the consistency of repeatedly casting nets. In business, this means patiently cultivating relationships, consistently delivering value, and understanding market rhythms. Strategic location and timing. Fishermen knew the best spots and times for a catch. Similarly, successful entrepreneurs identify market needs, target opportune niches, and time their product launches effectively. The fishing trade blueprint teaches us the indispensable value of discipline, calculated risk-taking, resource management, and the power of collaborative effort. It reminds us that sustainable wealth often comes from understanding natural cycles, persevering through challenges, and effectively harvesting resources to meet essential needs. It encourages us to approach our endeavors with the same dedication and strategic thinking that Peter, Andrew, James, and John brought to their nets, recognizing that diligent work, whether in the physical sea or the metaphorical market, can yield abundant fruit.
The sixth part, olive oil and spices, the ancient luxury, modern essential. Continuing our journey through God's timeless blueprints for wealth, we now turn our attention to olive oil and spices. These commodities, seemingly simple, held immense economic, cultural, and spiritual significance in the ancient world. They transitioned seamlessly between being everyday essentials and coveted luxuries, establishing a model for enterprise that continues to thrive in our global economy. In biblical times, olive oil was far more than just a cooking ingredient. It was a primary source of light, a staple food, a medicinal balm, a cosmetic, and a crucial element in religious rituals, particularly for anointing. Spices, meanwhile, were invaluable for preserving food, enhancing flavor, creating perfumes, and for medicinal purposes. They were exotic, rare, and highly sought after, often traveling vast distances across ancient trade routes. The Magi, bearing gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh to the infant Jesus, as recorded in the Gospel of Matthew chapter 2, verse 11, illustrate the extraordinary value placed on these precious aromatics, elevating them to the status of royal tribute. The inherent value of olive oil and spices stemmed from several factors. First, utility and versatility. They served multiple essential functions, ensuring constant demand. Second, scarcity and sourcing. Many spices were sourced from distant lands, making their acquisition costly and their distribution networks vital. High-quality olive oil required specific climate conditions and meticulous processing. Third, shelf life and transportability. These goods could be stored and transported over long distances without spoilage, making them ideal for trade and wealth accumulation. This ancient blueprint finds a massive modern market across various sectors. Food industry. Olive oil remains a culinary staple globally, with virgin and extra virgin varieties commanding premium prices. Spices are fundamental to cuisine worldwide, driving an enormous industry for growers, processors, and distributors. Health and wellness. Both olive oil and many spices are celebrated for their health benefits, from antioxidant properties to anti-inflammatory effects. This has fueled a booming market for health supplements, specialty foods, and nutraceuticals built around these ancient ingredients. Cosmetics and perfumery. High-quality olive oil is a coveted ingredient in natural skincare, while essential oils derived from spices form the heart of the perfume industry. Ethical and sustainable sourcing. Just as ancient traders sought the finest spices, today's consumers often seek ethically sourced, organic, and fair trade versions of these products, adding another layer of value and market opportunity. This blueprint also illustrates the concept of divine entrepreneurship and the power of scaling small assets.
Remember the widow in the book of 2 Kings chapter 4 who had nothing but a small jar of olive oil? Through Elisha's miraculous intervention, that meager supply was multiplied to fill many jars, allowing her to pay her debts and live off the surplus. This narrative, while miraculous, contains a profound economic lesson. Even small, seemingly insignificant assets, when managed with faith and diligence, can be the catalyst for immense provision and wealth creation. It's about recognizing the potential in what you already possess and allowing God to multiply your efforts. Furthermore, this model perfectly illustrates how selling meaning adds immense value. When we purchase a premium olive oil, we're not just buying fat. We're often buying into a story of heritage, a specific region, a traditional method, or a family legacy. The same applies to rare spices, which carry connotations of exotic lands, ancient trade routes, and unique culinary traditions. In modern marketing, conveying the story, the heritage, the ethical sourcing, or the health benefits, the why behind the product, can differentiate it and justify a higher price point. This allows businesses to move beyond mere commodity selling to offering an experience or a valuable narrative. The olive oil and spices blueprint teaches us that significant wealth can be built from high-value, versatile commodities that meet both essential and aspirational needs. It highlights the importance of quality, strategic sourcing, efficient distribution, and the ability to convey a compelling narrative. It reminds us that even humble beginnings, when infused with divine principles and diligent effort, can lead to exponential growth and enduring prosperity, transforming small assets into abundant provision.
Part 7. Tent Making and Trade. Funding your mission like Paul. As we delve deeper into the biblical blueprints for wealth creation, we encounter a profoundly practical and powerful model exemplified by none other than the Apostle Paul himself: tent making and trade. This blueprint highlights the strategic use of a vocational skill to achieve financial independence, thereby empowering a higher mission. Paul, the prolific missionary, theologian, and apostle to the Gentiles, was not a full-time salaried minister in the modern sense. Instead, he supported himself through his trade. As recorded in the book of Acts, chapter 18, verse 3, when Paul arrived in Corinth, he found Aquila and Priscilla, fellow tent makers, and because he was of the same trade, he stayed with them and worked. This was not a casual hobby. It was a legitimate, in-demand profession that provided his livelihood and funded his extensive missionary journeys. The genius of Paul's tent making lay in its inherent characteristics. First, it was a simple and portable trade. Tents were essential for travel, military encampments, and housing in the ancient world. The skills involved in cutting and sewing fabric or leather were highly transferable. Paul could set up his workshop wherever he went, requiring minimal specialized equipment. This portability allowed him the freedom to travel extensively, unburdened by fixed assets or a static client base. Second, it was an in-demand skill. The need for tents was constant across the Roman Empire. This ensured a steady stream of work and income, providing stability in an otherwise itinerant lifestyle. Third, and most importantly, it enabled him to fund his higher mission. Paul's primary calling was to preach the gospel without being a financial burden to those he served. His tent making provided the means to do this. He often labored night and day so that he could offer the good news free of charge, as he explains in his first letter to the Corinthians, chapter 9. This demonstrated integrity, humility, and a powerful example of self-sufficiency. He wasn't relying on others' donations for his basic needs, which allowed him to maintain credibility and focus purely on his spiritual work. How does this ancient model translate into modern relevance for us today? The principles are profoundly applicable, especially in our current economic landscape. Paul's tent making is the biblical equivalent of what we now call freelancing, consulting, or leveraging transferable skills in the gig economy. Many individuals possess valuable skills that can be monetized independently, freeing them from traditional employment structures. Consider professions like coding, digital marketing, graphic design, writing, web development, language translation, or specialized consulting. These are today's tent-making skills. They are often portable and in high demand and can be performed remotely, offering incredible flexibility. A web developer can build websites from anywhere in the world.
A digital marketer can manage campaigns for clients across continents. This mirrors Paul's ability to take his trade with him wherever his mission led him. The core lesson here is financial independence. By developing a valuable, marketable skill, you can create a revenue stream that supports your life and, crucially, funds your passions or higher calling. This independence provides tremendous freedom. It allows you to say no to opportunities that compromise your values and yes to those that align with your purpose, without financial coercion. It empowers you to dedicate time and resources to ministries, philanthropic endeavors, or creative pursuits that might not otherwise be financially viable. The blueprint of tent making and trade encourages us to think strategically about building a business or a vocational skill that funds your calling. It's about intentional wealth creation, not for accumulation's sake, but as a resource for kingdom impact. This requires 1. Identifying your marketable skills. What can you do that others value and are willing to pay for? 2. Developing expertise. Continuously refine your craft, striving for excellence in your chosen trade. 3. Strategic deployment. Use your earnings to support yourself and channel resources towards your ultimate mission, whether that's community service, missionary work, artistic creation, or any other God-given purpose. The Apostle Paul's example teaches us that honoring God with our work doesn't always mean a traditional ministry role. It means approaching our secular work with diligence, integrity, and a kingdom mindset, seeing our chosen profession as a powerful tool for financial independence and a springboard for greater impact. It is a powerful reminder that our vocational skills can be divine instruments, building not only earthly wealth, but eternal legacies.
Part 8. The Biblical Business Mindset, Beyond Fads to Foundation. We have journeyed through 6 distinct yet interconnected blueprints for wealth creation drawn directly from the pages of Scripture. From the nomadic wealth of Abraham to the agricultural abundance of the Promised Land, the skilled hands of carpenters, the diligent efforts of fishermen, the precious commodities of olive oil and spices, and finally, the self-supporting mission of the tent maker. Now it is time to synthesize these lessons and distill the essence of the biblical business mindset. The overarching theme woven through all these examples is clear. Wealth is not built on chasing fleeting trends or relying on speculative ventures, but on diligently stewarding what God has placed in your hands. Each blueprint, in its own context, demonstrates a commitment to foundational principles rather than ephemeral fads. Let us revisit the common threads that bind these diverse enterprises. First, ownership and responsibility. From Abraham's herds to a farmer's land, a craftsman's tools, or a fisherman's nets, each model highlights the importance of owning and taking responsibility for assets and skills. This ownership fosters a sense of stewardship, encouraging careful management and long-term vision. It's about being entrusted with resources and faithfully cultivating them. Second, patience and long-term vision. Whether waiting for a harvest, a flock to multiply, a child to inherit land, or a skill to be perfected, biblical entrepreneurship demands patience. It contrasts sharply with modern demands for instant gratification and quick returns. True wealth, as exemplified in Scripture, is often grown steadily, nurtured carefully, and built with an eye toward legacy, not just immediate profit. Third, excellence and quality. Noah's Ark had to be precise. Solomon's temple magnificent. Bezalel was filled with the spirit for craftsmanship. Jesus was known as a skilled carpenter. These examples underscore a commitment to excellence in execution. God himself is a God of order and perfection, and our work, whether crafting an object or cultivating a field, should reflect this divine attribute. Shortcuts and mediocrity are antithetical to a biblical work ethic. Fourth, provision of essentials and value creation. Every business blueprint we examined provided something essential or created significant value for society. Nomads supplied meat and wool. Farmers provided food. Craftsmen built shelters and tools. Fishermen offered protein. Tent makers provided shelter. Olive oil and spices met daily needs and enhanced life. This focus on genuinely serving others through providing valuable goods or services is a cornerstone of ethical and sustainable business. It moves beyond self-interest to community benefit. Fifth,
purpose-driven enterprise. Ultimately, the highest expression of this biblical mindset is a purpose-driven enterprise. For Abraham, his wealth was intertwined with God's promise to make him a great nation. For Paul, his tent-making directly facilitated his missionary calling. Our businesses and our work are not merely means to personal gain, but platforms through which we can honor God, serve our neighbor, and fund our God-given missions. They become instruments for His kingdom. In an age of rapid technological change and shifting economic landscapes, these ancient blueprints offer an anchoring truth. The principles of God's economy are eternal. They transcend technological fads or market fluctuations. They focus on the timeless values of diligence, integrity, stewardship, and service. So, as you consider your own path to wealth creation, ask yourself, am I stewarding the gifts, talents, and resources God has placed in my hands with excellence? Am I cultivating patience and a long-term vision, or am I chasing fleeting gains? Is my work producing genuine value and meeting real needs? And, most importantly, is my enterprise infused with a higher purpose, contributing to something greater than myself? Embracing this biblical business mindset is not abandoning innovation or ignoring modern opportunities. Rather, it's about grounding our entrepreneurial endeavors in solid, divine foundations, ensuring that our pursuit of prosperity is not only successful in worldly terms, but honorable in God's eyes, building true, lasting wealth that makes an eternal impact.
Part 9, Your Blueprint. Which biblical business will you start? We have spent significant time exploring 6 powerful blueprints for wealth creation, each rooted deeply in biblical history and principles. We have moved from the pastoral and agricultural models through the craftsmanship and fishing trades to the commodity markets of olive oil and spices, and finally to the mission-funded enterprise of tent making. You have seen how these ancient pathways offer timeless wisdom for building sustainable and God-honoring wealth. But knowledge alone, while valuable, is only the first step. The true power lies in moving from understanding to action. This is where the rubber meets the road, where insight transforms into tangible endeavor. It is not enough to simply know about these blueprints. The challenge now is to discern which one, or which combination, God is calling you to implement in your own life and work. Consider the 6 models once more. 1. Pastoral and agricultural wealth. Are you drawn to working with the land, cultivating resources, or managing natural assets? Do you have a heart for long-term growth and sustainable stewardship? This might manifest in farming, ranching, land development, or even modern resource management. 2. Carpentry and craftsmanship. Do you possess a skill for creating tangible things with your hands, an eye for quality, and a desire to build lasting structures or products? This could lead you into custom manufacturing, specialized trades, artisan work, or even high-quality construction. 3. Fishing trade. Do you have an aptitude for identifying and harvesting resources, understanding market dynamics, and a willingness to face risk for a substantial reward? This might inspire ventures in logistics, resource extraction, or industries that involve finding and fulfilling specific demands. 4. Olive oil and spices. Are you passionate about high-value commodities, discerning quality, and marketing products with a rich story or unique health benefits? This could lead to specialty food businesses, health and wellness ventures, or premium consumer goods. 5. Tent making and trade. Do you have a portable, in-demand skill that could grant you financial independence, allowing you to fund a deeper calling or mission? This is the realm of freelancing, consulting, digital services, or any flexible enterprise that supports a greater purpose. Take a moment to reflect honestly. Which of these blueprints resonates most deeply with your God-given talents, your current skills, your passions, or even the desires of your heart? Which one sparks a flicker of excitement or a sense of, I could do that? Perhaps you see elements of several models that could combine into a unique venture perfectly suited for you. The purpose of this exercise is to prompt a commitment to align your business with God's plan for abundance. God's desire for us is not merely survival, but thriving so that we can be a blessing to others. This abundance isn't just financial, it encompasses peace, purpose, and impact.
When your work aligns with divine principles, it becomes a channel for this holistic abundance. Clarity, as we often say, leads to change. When you gain clarity on which biblical business model speaks to you, it empowers you to focus your efforts. Instead of dabbling in many things, you can dedicate your energy to mastering one or two proven paths. Make intentional decisions. Your business choices will be guided by timeless wisdom, not just fleeting trends. Build with confidence. You will be building on a foundation that God Himself has established and blessed through the ages. Pray with specific purpose. You can bring your business plans before God, asking for His guidance and blessing on a specific, biblically informed path. This is not a call to abandon modern innovation, but to infuse it with ancient wisdom. It is a challenge to be entrepreneurial, to create value, to serve others, and to build something lasting, all under the guiding hand of our Creator. So I invite you now, which blueprint will you claim? Which biblical business will you prayerfully consider starting? Or which principles will you integrate into your current work? Begin with one step, guided by the timeless wisdom of the Word on Wealth, and watch as God's abundance unfolds in your life and through your enterprise.
Part 10. Become a biblical entrepreneur. God's plan for your prosperity. We have explored the rich tapestry of biblical blueprints for wealth, from the patriarchs tending flocks to the apostles crafting tents. These are not merely historical anecdotes. They are living examples, offering profound insights into God's design for human flourishing and enterprise. Our ultimate aim here at the Word on Wealth is not just for you to admire these models, but to be inspired and equipped to become a biblical entrepreneur yourself. The journey we've undertaken reveals a powerful truth. God's plan for your prosperity is not about complex schemes or secret formulas. It's often rooted in the diligent application of simple skills, when those skills are aligned with His purpose and pursued with persistence. Think of the humble shepherd, the carpenter with his tools, or the fisherman with his nets. Their success was not born of inherent grandeur, but of faithful stewardship and hard work applied to what was available to them. When your skills, your efforts, and your enterprise are aligned with God's purpose, the potential for extraordinary impact and multiplication is immense. This impact extends far beyond the mere act of making money. It encompasses providing for your family, ensuring stability and security for those you love, creating jobs, offering dignified labor and opportunity for others in your community, serving your community, meeting needs, offering valuable goods and services, and contributing to the common good, funding kingdom work, supplying resources for ministries, missions, and charitable causes that advance God's kingdom on earth, living out your calling, experiencing the profound satisfaction of using your God-given talents in a way that honors Him and fulfills your unique purpose. This is the essence of biblical prosperity, a holistic abundance that blesses you and makes you a blessing to countless others. It's not just about what you gain, but about what you can give, what you can build, and the positive ripple effect you can create in the world. Do not underestimate the power of starting small, beginning with what you have, and committing it to God. Just as a single seed can yield a bountiful harvest, or a few loaves and fish can feed thousands, your simple skills, when offered to God with faith and diligence, can be multiplied in ways you cannot even imagine. We believe that every follower of Christ has a role to play in God's economy, and for many, that role involves entrepreneurship. It's about being a creator, an innovator, a steward, and a provider in the marketplace. We invite you to continue on this journey with us. Let the Word on Wealth be a resource for your growth and learning. If this message has resonated with you, if you feel a stirring to embrace these principles, we encourage you to pray, seek God's specific guidance for your unique entrepreneurial path. Study, delve deeper into the Scriptures to uncover more of God's wisdom for wealth and work. Engage, share your thoughts, questions, and experiences in the comments section below. We love to hear from you and build this community of biblical entrepreneurs together. Subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss future episodes, where we will continue to explore practical wisdom for living a life of purpose and prosperity.
thank you for joining us on this profound exploration. May God bless you as you step out in faith to become the biblical entrepreneur He has called you to be, transforming simple skills into extraordinary impact, all for His glory.